Yes, yeah.
Woo! God bless America.
A Cinderella story crashes into reality. I am the Wiz. All right, everybody, welcome back. If you like my review, please leave a like, leave a comment on what you think, and if you want to hear more, subscribe. I do 3 reviews every week on this channel, and thank you very much for coming by. All right, everybody, so I am here to review the 2024 Sean Baker film Anora, starring Mikey Madison. I've only seen Tangerine from Sean Baker, and though I liked it, I kind of had some issues with it. If you want to hear what those are, I'll leave a review on the time card, so you can check that out. All right, so let's get right into the review of Anora. So I can describe Anora in 3 parts. Each act of the film essentially is a different genre of film. So the first act is actually a whirlwind Cinderella romance. Basically, the film follows Annie, who is played by Mikey Madison, who becomes a client of Ivan, who is the son of a rich oligarch from Russia. And then he starts paying for her services. He paid for a week of her time. And at the end of the first act, he ends up marrying Annie. This first part of the film is actually really good because there's an energy and great visuals and just a lightness to this first act that is not only really entertaining, but it's actually incredibly engaging in a very light way. The music in the first act is really good, along with the visuals. You just really give into the vibe of this first act. It goes by really quickly. It's actually 45 minutes, but it feels like it's like 15-20 minutes. And honestly, you just go into this part really liking everything that's showing. Is it materialistic? Is it kind of vapid? Yes, but you're just going in enjoying the whirlwind of this experience that you're having in this first act. And this first act really shows why Annie accepts Ivan's marriage proposal. So the second act is different. The second act follows that the parents of Ivan have found out not only he married an American, but he had married an American sex worker. And at this point, the family wants him to get the marriage annulled. So what happens is that in the second act, his family's goons come by to talk to him, and he just runs away, leaving Annie to deal with them herself. And this leads into like a screwball comedy kind of vibe where Annie is dressing everybody down, and they're trying to find Ivan. And it leads into some funny situations as that second act goes on. The third act, again, goes into a different vibe. Now, I'm not going to spoil the third act, but the third act actually becomes more dour, more downbeat, darker, and it goes into an entirely different vibe. Now, if you look at all 3 acts separately or in a vacuum, I would say they are very well done. They all have very good visuals. The vibe and the feel of the film becomes darker and darker as the film goes on. The lightness seems to seep out and go away, and it gets to a more serious movie. Now, like I said when I was describing the 3 acts, the first act is really well done with the energy and vibe it has, but the come down from when it gets to the end doesn't nearly hit as hard, which is what the film wants you to do. Again, I'm not going to spoil what happens in the third act, but something happens that is pretty upsetting, and what the film, I believe, wants you to do is feel bad for Annie and have this feeling of, oh wow, that's really screwed up. But to me, I kind of had this feeling of, well, yeah, what did you expect? And I guess you can have sympathy for the main character and say like, oh, she just got caught up and everything, but the film, it felt like really wanted you to feel bad for the main character in the end. To an extent, I can understand how I would feel bad for her, but on the other hand, I'm looking at it and going, you kind of should have expected this. And honestly, I think this is mainly due to the fact that all 3 acts, when you combine them together, I don't think really mixes and meshes very well with each other. The tone shifts on each act are pretty direct and brazen. When you do a tone shift like this film is doing, you really want to blend in very well. And I don't think it really does in this film. And that becomes kind of a problem. So I have another issue, and that is the character of Igor, who is played by Yuri Borisov. I think Borisov does a good job with this character, but the way that this character evolves as the film goes on just doesn't kind of fit well with me. I looked at him throughout the entire film as more of a dispassionate, empathetic person. He's a person that feels bad for Annie and the situation she's in, but he's old enough and wise enough to notice what is about to happen. And there are things that happen at the end of this film that doesn't really mesh well with what I thought the character was going to be. He basically becomes kind of a white knight for her in the end. And I think for Igor, I don't think it really hit well at the end of this film. It just felt like a little too much for this character to be that. I think I understand what Sean Baker was trying to do when having Igor do what he does at the end of the film. I just don't think it really mixed well with the rest of the character. Basically, with Anora, I feel like the mix of comedy and romance just doesn't mix that well for this film. But I will say that, again, if you separate all the elements, I didn't have a problem with any of it. I just think that when you try and mesh everything together, the whirlwind romance, the screwball comedy, the serious tone at the end, it just kind of has a whiplash. I think that it was not effective at all. And honestly, when it happens at the end, just felt like a foregone conclusion to me. It wasn't a surprise, and it didn't really have that emotional resonance I was looking for. But honestly, when it comes to the visuals and what the film is trying to do, I liked Anora. I guess I don't like it as much as a lot of people do, but I think it is a solid film overall. All right, so before I get to my rating, let's see what other people thought about this film. Letterboxd users has this at a 4 out of 5. That is a pretty high rating. Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 93% fresh. And at the Oscars, it's nominated for 6, including Best Picture, Director, Actress, Supporting Actor, and Original Screenplay. I think the last one is Film Editing. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Like I said, I think the parts of the film are really good. I really like Mikey Madison's performance in this film. I think she really holds this film together overall. I think the way that this film mixes its tone from the first to the second to the third act doesn't mix that well at all, even though I will admit I think all the elements are done well separately. But when it comes to the end, and it makes you want to feel a certain way about what happened with the character and what she went through, the only kind of emotion I had was, well, yeah, what did you expect? I don't think that's what it was really going for in this film. So overall, 3 out of 5 for Nora. It is available for rent wherever you stream your movies. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. If you didn't, please subscribe. And if you have questions or comments, go ahead and leave a comment whether you liked it or not. It just helps, you know. If you want my written reviews, you can go onto my letterbox at IamThatWiz, or you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. Thank you very much again for watching. See you next time.